All right, we're back on the record. Ma'am, why don't you come on back up? Counsel, go ahead.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Please.
And my intent is to just basically cover matters raised and reserve the right to call her.
Certainly.
All right, so you were telling us about your educational background. You have a bachelor's degree, you said? And where did you...
You have to answer out loud yes or no, just because
yes.
we're recording it. Thank you. Go ahead.
Where did you obtain that degree?
UNLV
When did you graduate?
in 2008.
And what was your field of study?
Communication.
And when did you and Michael first meet?
I graduated August of 2008, so we must have met in 2008 or 2009.
How long did you date each other before you married?
9 months.
Now, you testified in direct examination that at some point Michael told you that he's bipolar.
Correct.
When did he tell you that?
I believe he told me that when... Well, he told me that once we were engaged.
Well, your direct testimony is while you were dating.
Okay.
But still, you haven't told me when he told you that.
Like at what specific time? Or where
Approximately, best of Christmas, it was cold, it was summer, we were on vacation. Anything that you remember about it?
I just remember it being a conversation at his house. I remember it being cold. I just remember him not giving me very many details about it.
Okay. Well, wouldn't you ask for details if somebody told you something like that?
Well, I guess the thing that I saw was that he seemed very normal, and my understanding of bipolar was depression and like periods of being hyper and manic, and so I never saw Michael be depressed, and so I didn't think, he said, oh, I don't take medication, it was a stressful period of my life, it was one time.
So this person that you're engaged to
Yes.
tells you that they're bipolar, and you're not concerned to ask for any further details.
Well, I did once I found out he was receiving SSI benefits. That's when I started being like, oh, there's more to this story than just the one time or what was going on at that point.
How much later was that?
I would say we were married after a year and a half, so at that point, around 10 months of dating, I found out when we were planning our wedding, I found out he was receiving benefits.
The only evidence that you can present to this court to support your claim that Michael's bipolar is your say-so. You have no records that back it up, do you?
No, I don't have records.
You've had plenty of time to obtain records in preparation for this case, haven't you?
I think it was an issue of not signing a HIPAA release form, is what I was told.
You have no records here today to support your claim, do you? And you have claimed that Michael committed domestic battery on you. That's your claim. We have no police record that would corroborate any of that, do we?
Unfortunately, no.
And you tried to explain that by saying and testifying earlier that Michael would not allow you to leave to call the police.
He wouldn't let me leave at all, and especially not to call the police.
And at some point, you were able and free to call the police. 'Cause at some point, you
I
left.
mean, yes, after I threatened to run to a neighbor or scream bloody murder or, you know.
And you didn't call the police at that point either, did you?
I did meet with a domestic violence advocate.
And you can answer my questions. I didn't ask.
I'm sorry, can you ask
did
me?
not call the police.
Not then, no.
Not at any time. We don't have any records that show that you documented with the police any claim of being abused.
Yes, and I should have.
And we don't have any photographs of any marks or abrasions to your body that would support any claim of being domestically abused.
I agree, yes, I should have.
We don't have any witnesses that would be coming here to court today to say, I saw Michael strike.
I have witnesses here today who know about the abuse.
I'm asking about know about the abuse. Do you have anyone here that will say that they saw Michael strike you?
No, he never hit me.
Okay.
Either.
He never hit you. Okay. When is your contention that the first time that he was ever physically abusive to you? When did that first occur?
When Mason was 2 months old.
And that would have been what year and month approximately?
August or September of 2011.
Could you look at Exhibit H before you? It begins at date stamp, page 53. You reviewed pages 53 through 56. Can you tell the court what those are?
They are Facebook posts that I made.
Move for admission of Exhibit H, Your Honor.
Counsel, any objection? Be admitted.
If we look at page 53, and actually I believe 54 has a more complete account. August 4, 2014, could you read what you wrote about Michael?
Watching Michael McDonald love on Malia yesterday at church made me a bit emotional. Growing up, I had a strained relationship with my dad. It brings me great comfort and joy to know that my children will never grow up wondering if their dad loves or cares for them. What a gift I have found in you, Michael.
What did you observe concerning Michael with regards to Malia at that time that led you to make that post?
It was the picture of him holding her. That's what I observed.
That's the one on page 53?
Correct.
And then above that, on August 9, 2014, you wrote, when a woman is loved well, she blossoms?
Yes.
Yeah. Could you explain your comments there?
It was just a quote that I read in a book and thought it was nice.
Well, were you feeling well loved at that time?
No.
So you just picked a quote at random to post, not to express your feelings?
Yes. I actually posted that because...
If you could go to page 55. October 22, 2013. What did you post?
Happy birthday to the most caring, loving, hardworking daddy and husband.
And that was referring to who?
Oh, Michael?
grade do you teach?
I teach 12th grade.
And what's your school?
Bonanza High School.
What's your schedule, work-wise?
It's changed this year, but our report time is 7:05, except for twice a week we have to report at 6:30, and then we're off at 2:15.
And you said that's changed?
Oh, just the 2 mornings that we had. That's extra this year, where we have to go in at 6:30 twice.
Who watches the children when you were going in at 6:30 or 7:05?
The daycare. That I had them. I had last
You know, as far as the daycare, this daycare that you were talking about actually had to add more staff because of the number of children they had there, didn't they?
I'm not aware of any ads of stuff.
Are you aware of them having any developmentally challenged children under their care?
They have 2 separate schools. On one side is the preschool, and on the other side they do have, it's an elementary program up through high school that work with children with special needs.
You mentioned at one point Michael, the children returned from a visit with Michael with a rash.
Mm-hmm.
Have the children ever gotten a rash while under your care?
A diaper rash. Malia's had a diaper rash on a few occasions.
And didn't the children get foot and mouth disease from daycare?
I'm not certain where they got it, but yeah, both of my children have had hand, foot, and mouth disease.
When did they have that?
Mason had it once when he was in, I don't know, maybe a year and a half, and then Malia had it again once this year as well.
And do you take any responsibility for them obtaining that?
I'm sorry?
Do you take any responsibility for them obtaining foot and hand?
Me? Like, me giving that to them? No.
Did anything you do cause them to contact that?
I mean, not that I'm aware. I mean, I'm a sanitary person, so I think so.
As far as daycare, do you consider the fact that children can obtain illnesses and such from attending daycare?
Oh, sure, yeah, I know that happens.
So, when your daughter came home with a rash after a visit with her father,
Mm-hmm.
you said Michael couldn't tell you where it came from.
Correct.
And is there some reason he would have special knowledge of where a rash that occurs on a child comes from?
It was just alarming because it was from head to toe, and that he hadn't noticed that she was covered in a rash. That was more my concern. I guess less about where it came from and more about why he didn't get medical care for it.
And you weren't there during his time visiting with
No.
children, so you don't know whether he noticed or not, do you?
Oh, he told me he didn't notice she had a rash on a text message.
And do we have that text message here today?
It may be. I don't have it in front of me.
Are you as far as your health? Are you presently under the care of any physicians, psychiatrists, psychologists, counselors?
I have seen a counselor, yes.
And who are you under the care of?
Her name is Nancy Caldwell.
And she's a marriage and family therapist?
Correct.
How long have you been seeing her?
I began seeing her when we had couples counseling. She would do, her husband was seeing us as a couple first, and then when Michael and I separated.
My question was how long? I don't mean to be abrupt, but we have limited time.
So probably when we separated, which would be May of 2014.
And one of the reasons you've seen the counselors because you have difficulty managing stress.
Correct.
And you've also had problems with fatigue.
No.
Caldwell didn't assist you for treatment for fatigue? What problems do you have handling stress?
Just feeling like particularly the marital stress and then the stress of the divorce and the stalking and the constant text messaging and the never leaving me alone and showing up where I'm at and pretty much just coping with dealing with someone with a mental illness.
What about stress in your professional life?
What I don't.
Don't you have stress as a teacher?
Yeah, I mean, there's stressors being a teacher, of course. Yes.
I can imagine a 12th grade teacher might have.
Maybe so, you are. You were asked about your consumption of alcohol by your counsel, and you would consider yourself a social drinker, correct?
No.
You haven't posted that you're a social drinker on your media post?
No.
Okay, if you could look at Exhibit L, beginning of date stamp 63. And you recognize this, do you not?
Yes.
And can you tell the court what this is?
This is my Match.com dating account.
And you posted that you're a social drinker on this account, have you not?
I did, but honestly, I don't know that I really focused on. There were only a few options, so I may have clicked on that. I don't know. I wasn't really thinking much about it.
There was a time when you went up to a wedding rehearsal at Mount Charleston, correct?
Yes.
And that was, I imagine, like most wedding rehearsals where alcohol was served?
No.
No alcohol to...
I mean, they have a bar there, but there was no alcohol served.
And you wrecked your car at that time, didn't you?
I did have an accident, yes. It was snowing.
Now, if you also use marijuana, correct?
Once.
When did you use marijuana?
When I was out of town at a wedding reception.
And when was that?
Maybe July of last year or the year before. I think it was July 2 years ago,
So that would be
2014.
And it made you feel, as you noted in your journal, fucking fantastic, right?
I wrote that, yes, but
Well, you wrote that because it was true, right?
I was feeling a lot of different mixed emotions at that time.
Are you saying that this thing that made you feel so fantastic, you've only done once?
Yes, absolutely.
You and Michael separated in May, I think you said 2014, wasn't it 2015?
No,
You separated in May of 2014?
yes.
When did you file for divorce?
That following July.
That same month that you separated, whether it was 2014 or 2015, you went to Chicago. Didn't you?
It wasn't the same month. No, we separated in May, and then July is when I took the trip.
And you were gone for approximately 5 days? How long were you gone for?
It was the weekend. Friday, Saturday, I returned home Sunday.
And when you left for Chicago, you left the children in the care of Michael McDonald, isn't that true?
Yes.
So you had no concerns about going off to Chicago and leaving them?
No, I had
With their
concerns. I had concerns. And looking
The
back,
concerns did not keep you from leaving the children with their father, correct? You would agree with that, wouldn't you?
I'm sorry, can you ask me again?
The concerns, whatever they were, did not keep you from leaving the children with their father.
I did leave, yes.
Have you ever used alcohol to the point of becoming intoxicated during the course of your marriage to Michael?
Not that I can recall.
You have previously been diagnosed with a condition called PMDD.
No.
About postpartum depression.
No.
You've been diagnosed with depression.
No.
Have you ever been diagnosed with any mental condition?
No.
Besides the therapist, Ms. Caldwell, have you seen any other professionals for mental health treatment?
No. We did see other counselors for counseling, but as a marital unit.
So, Mason was born in June of 2011, and you were teaching school by August of 2012, correct?
Yes.
And after then, you testified you were principally in charge of caring for Mason. Was it in fact daycare that was principally in charge of
After I went back to work?
Yes.
Well, I don't believe that the daycare raises my children. I mean, when I come home, I feed them, bathe them, clothe them, read to them. So, I mean, during the day while I worked, yes, they were at daycare. Mason was at daycare.
And when their dad came home from work, he would care for them as well.
No.
Now, you testified concerning this prolapsed rectum that your daughter recently was diagnosed with.
Yes.
And you kind of laughed when you testified about Michael asking you if she had a male babysitter.
I don't think that's funny at all, actually. So if I
Well-
laughed, it's probably because I'm nervous. But no, I do
Isn't
not.
it a
think that's-
legitimate question that a male could cause that type of damage if he was?
I
that type
am
of
disgusted that someone would ever suggest that someone did that to my child and that I would leave somebody in the care to hurt my child that way. So yes, I am offended by that comment. And I'm sorry, but when I map out a whole bunch of stuff, this is what she needs for her care, this is what we're doing, and the first response to that is, did a male watch your child? Like, not like, how is she
to the
or what
fact
is she
that
going
that
to
could
do?
happen?
Oh no, I'm aware that that happens, but I would never leave anyone in the care that would ever hurt my children.
And how
Which
does-
is why I'm here today. It's exactly why I'm here today.
Thank you. You've answered my question. Do you smoke?
No,
You used to smoke, correct?
I did used to smoke.
When did you
crack.
stop smoking?
I stopped smoking when Michael had a problem with it,
When was that?
before we were married.
In February of 2016, you asked Michael to reconcile.
I'm sorry?
In February of 2016, you asked Michael to reconcile.
No, I have not asked Michael to reconcile.
Do you have any type of criminal record?
No.
Do you have any plans to relocate in the future?
No?
Now, the fistula that you and Michael disagreed about is concerning treatment, as you testified to. In fact, Michael had that as well when he was a baby, correct?
That's what his mom said.
And he didn't have surgery for it, did he?
I have no idea.
And what the doctors told you to do is to monitor it
Objection,
and
Your Honor. As to what the doctors told her.
Hearsay. Next question.
the doctors didn't immediately recommend surgery, did they?
No, they asked us to do a more conservative approach, which would be the oral antibiotic and the shock first, which is what we tried first.
And you testified that Malia had a musculum, I think you called it?
Olostum, yeah.
Musculum. And you were treating that with some type of seed oil?
A tea tree oil, yes. That's what was suggested by my pediatrician.
The incident that you testified to where Mason had a cut on his head, the cut was not as you described in your direct testimony, but was noted by the doctors to be a small laceration. Isn't that true?
It needed a staple. It had to be closed.
It was noted in the
me, as a
medical records as a small laceration, wasn't it? You look at Bates stamp page, I believe it's 60.
which binder is it?
That would be your binder. It might be black if it's like mine. And they describe
Sorry, I didn't hear the tab.
page Bates stamp 60. The tab would be B. It indicates that the laceration was small. You see that under additional HPI notes.
Well, it doesn't indicate the laceration was small. It says patient's mom reports the laceration as small.
And they noted that Mason denied any loss of consciousness or nausea, anything like that, correct?
Correct.
And in your previous filings with this court, you've indicated that as a result of that, he had stitches, correct?
I'm not sure. I know that I don't know. I'm not sure. I know when we were at the hospital, he had a staple.
Okay, one staple.
One staple, yes.
Now, some of these incidents where you say Michael was physically abusive, you've actually been physically abusive towards him.
No.
You pointed a gun at him, haven't you?
No.
You have struck him with punches.
I've defended myself.
Well, how did you defend yourself?
In the times where he was on top of me, I would push, hit, kick, whatever I needed to do to get out from underneath him or away from him. I would do whatever it took to try to get away and to get out of that house.
And you also previously testified he's never hit you.
He never hit me. No, I still agree with that. He choked me, pushed me, grabbed my wrist, screamed in my face, held me down, sat on
About
me.
caring for the children, and you say you cook for them.
Yes.
Their father can cook for them too. Can you not?
I'm sure he can, but he didn't when we were married.
Well, you left these children to go off to Chicago. You expected they would be fed.
I also had a
If you can answer my question, you expected they would be fed.
yes. But I pre-made meals for them, so I made the
The
meals.
witness could answer my
So, on cross-examination, he's going to ask you a lot of really pointed questions, and a lot of the answers are going to be yes or no. Your attorney's going to, in about 2 minutes, have the opportunity to ask you some questions that might clarify those points.
Okay, sure.
And did you attend college during the course of the marriage after you had children?
I did take a few classes. Yes.
You took them at night,
Yes.
and their father would care for them while you were at night school. Isn't that true?
Not always.
At least sometimes, correct?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes.
And during what period of time was that?
When I was pregnant with Malia, I took a class.
When Malia had the incident straining on the toilet and suffered the injury that she did you notify Michael?
I did by talking parents.
And you had some medical records where you took her to urgent care in Oceanside. Did you notify Michael that you were taking the children out of state? And I assume that you would want this court to order that you be notified if their father ever takes them out of state. Correct?
Yes, yes.
That is an important point for a parent to know where their children are. Would you not agree?
Yes, I agree.
Now, you testified that you were subjected to psychological abuse, I believe the term used during the course of the marriage. You're not a psychiatrist or psychologist, correct?
Correct.
And when you use that term psychological abuse, how are you defining it?
As in, like, what happened, or?
Do you even know what it means?
I do. I mean, I'm just saying.
What do you think it means? And when you use it in the relationship to how you're testifying today, what do you mean by that term?
Power, control, loss of myself, inability to make decisions on my own without approval, rules, laws that I had to live by without consequence, just things that were said to me that were traumatizing, things that were done to me that were traumatizing.
You mentioned the rituals. You said turn off the lights. It's kind of a waste of your money if you have lights on that you don't need, correct?
Yes.
And if a parent or husband felt that deodorants or candles or whatever might be being used in the household were harmful, you would expect that person to do something about it and try to keep them from being used, wouldn't you?
Am I allowed to explain, or?
No, I'm just asking you yes or no.
I'm sorry, can you ask me again? I'm sorry.
If a parent or a husband felt that products that were being used in the household could be harmful to their children or to their spouse, you would expect them to say something about it and not want them to be used.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, as far as the finding pictures in your card this week, You have no personal knowledge of how those pictures got there.
No.
You can only speculate.
Correct.
And what time did you discover? I think you said in the morning. What
yeah,
time?
It was around 9 a.m. when I discovered them.
When had you last been in your car previous
I
to that?
parked it about 8 p.m. the night before
Where did you park it?
in my condo parking lot.
Is that a secured condominium?
It's gate secured, yes.
And this car, which car was it?
The SUV that is in both of our name.
And does that have multiple seats in it?
Yes.
Seats that fold down, fold up?
Yes.
And there's a third row in it that's never used?
Correct.
You testified that Michael would gamble and at times would disappear for stretches.
Yes.
You've never set forth that allegation in any of your prior papers filed with this court, have you?
I don't believe so.
Mentioned that Michael showed up at your gym. That's the YMCA.
Yes.
It's also Michael's gym, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Michael's never used the YMCA to your knowledge?
When we separated, we decided that that would be my gym and that he would do another gym. So we took his name off the account, and he, as far as I'm aware, went to LVAC.
You don't know what he did after.
No, I just know that we agreed, and I took him off the account, and that the day that he came in, he snuck in without scanning his card.
Again, I didn't ask you that. And do you have personal knowledge? Did you see him do that?
Yes.
Do you have any persons that you associate with that are around the children?
Yes.
Who would that be?
Friends or family?
Do you have a friend named Jordan?
No.
Did you previously have a friend named Jordan?
For a very brief time, yes.
And Jordan was around your children?
No, never.
Is there any reason Jordan wasn't around your children?
I have a boundary that no one will meet my children until no males need to be around my children besides family. It's a boundary for me.
You were dating Jordan?
No.
Did Jordan use drugs to your knowledge?
No.
Is he bipolar?
Yes, Jordan was bipolar.
You said that when you found the Valentine's Day card in your car, there was a TPO in effect. That's not true, is it?
I believe the TPO ran out on the 27th of February, and the gifts were in my car the Friday before Valentine's Day, which would have made it.
Did the TPO expire in December,
No,
actually?
I think it was July to February, or August to February. It was 6 months. So July, August.
You're not sure here on the stand whether the TPO was in place or not, are you?
I'm almost certain it was in place.
And we don't have any documentation. You've got exhibits here. Is the TPO that was in force in effect among your exhibits?
Council T15-165523T was extended. It was issued on August 17th, 2015, and it expired February 17th, 2016.
Thank you. Now, at some point during the marriage, you and Michael purchased a home, correct?
Yes.
And you agreed to purchase that home?
Yes.
And are you telling this court that you agreed to purchase a home in an area you thought was bad?
It's gotten much worse over the years, so.
When did you purchase the home?
4 or 5 years ago?
Just 4 or 5 years, it's gotten much worse.
Yes.
Talk about helicopters being overhead. That is near the North Las Vegas airport, is it not?
No.
Kind of, but all right. The court knows where it is.
All right, I think it's. You've always insisted on having primary custody of the children, isn't that true?
Yes.
And you've denied Michael access to the children.
Only when it's been ordered.
Well, after a hearing in December where the court expanded the time for Michael to see the children, out there in the hallway, you told him he wasn't going to see the children for the holidays, didn't you? Are you aware that you've acknowledged that in prior pleadings?
No.
So at no time outside the courtroom after a hearing did you ever say that Michael could not see the children?
I do not recall. I don't remember saying that.
You have denied Michael trips to the Duck Creek with his family, correct?
Well, the court for sure did that this year, so I'll take all full blame for that.
This year.
Next question.
About Did you tell Mason that Daddy's head doesn't work right?
No, Mason told that to me.
You've denied Michael the opportunity to see the children on his birthday. Is that true?
Not originally, no.
You had agreed that he could see the children for the birthday.
Yes, but then he threatened to keep them overnight, and that was not our custody agreement. So, and it was during my time, and so we were like, you know, these are the hours that we'll agree to, and he was supposed to return the kids by 8 p.m., and he said that he wanted to keep them overnight until the morning, which I wasn't comfortable with.
You have denied Michael the ability to see the children when he's denied your request for money. Isn't that
No.
true? You testified that you feel like the children would be constantly in danger.
Yes.
When you sought a TPO, you didn't seek a TPO for the children, did you?
I did, yeah, both times. The second time they told me that since we already had...
I don't want to hear what they told you that. So you're claiming in your application for TPO you asked for protection for the children as well?
But the first one, yes.
Was the TPO, to your knowledge, extended as to the children?
No, just mine.
And that first TPO you applied for when?
I don't remember the exact date. I believe it was in July.
This is 1 and 2. Oh, no, there's not. Different case.
July 2014, maybe. the same time that the
You've cut off the power twice to the Maynard address?
no. Well, when I moved out, I moved power to my house.
And you cut off power to the Maynard address.
Correct. Which is what we agreed on.
And cause spoilage of food?
I'm not aware of what happened.
This fistula that Mason had, wasn't it in fact compared to a pimple?
No. It's a cyst.
You don't dispute that the children love their father, do you?
Oh no, I know they love him very much.
They deserve a relationship with their father.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
And you don't dispute that Michael loves his children, do
No,
you?
I know he loves them very much.
Does Mason presently have any male role model in his life?
Yes.
Who would that be?
My stepdad and my brothers.
That's not the same thing as having a father, is it?
No, it's not.
So, when you say that you would want supervised visitation at this time, who would do the supervision?
I'm just learning about supervised visitation, so I know that there are programs or people that do that.
Okay, so you don't know at this point.
I don't have a place picked out, no.
You previously threatened to commit suicide, have you not?
No.
Never?
No.
Mr. McDonald's never abducted your children, has he?
No, but he's threatened to.
And you've posted on social media matters concerning this case, have you not?
No. I don't believe so. I really have tried to keep it private.
Well, didn't you post pictures of your children under the name Candace Rink?
Have I posted pictures of my children
Yes.
on my Facebook?
On any social media.
Yes.
And you posted a picture of them in relation to your comments about your case. Isn't that true?
I'm not really sure what you're talking about.
You didn't post on social media about having a fuse in your cars?
I don't recall.
Would you agree that's not a wise thing to do, to open up to the public about your children and their lives?
I feel like Facebook is a free place to post things that I like and picture. I mean, I'm careful about what I post. I wouldn't.
Are you on any medications at the present time? Have you been on any medications during the course of the marriage? Has Michael been on any medications during the course of the marriage?
I'm not aware. It's been suggested, but I'm not aware if he took them or not.
Well, And you, in fact, made a prior representation suggesting to this court that he was not taking his medications, correct?
Yeah, it was suggested that he should take medication. Whether he did or not,
That he wasn't taking any medications for him not to take when you made that representation to the court. Isn't that
while
true?
we were married, he did not take medication. When we were separated, he was telling me that he was going to work a treatment plan and get on medication. I don't know if he did that or not.
But your representation to the court was misleading, was it not? Because he wasn't taking any medications when you made that representation.
I'm not really sure what exactly I said.
You're going to have to prove that. You have some anger issues as well, correct?
No,
You expressed that during the course of the marriage by throwing things?
no,
You damaged the house?
no.
You ever argued with Michael in front of the children?
We may have argued, yeah, in front of the kids.
And it involved you yelling in front of the children?
If I ever yelled, it was only to get away from him. But it was never directed ever at my children, and I tried my best to keep them as far away as possible.
Would you agree that you and Michael are incompatible in marriage?
Or,
You're
Yeah.
incompatible in marriage?
yes, I
That
would.
you have separated, so you no longer live together as man and wife?
Yes, correct.
No chance for reconciliation?
No, not at all.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Anything else briefly, counsel?
Yeah, just a couple things real quick, Your Honor. Do you have a social media account, Candace? Which accounts do you have?
Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat.
And what do you typically use those accounts for?
Instagram I use to post pictures. Snapchat is just for filters. And then Facebook is just, things that I believe, things that I care about. Sometimes I post pictures of the kids, things I'm passionate about teaching, or, things like that.
So your understanding that these sites are used to post things about family, about friends,
Yes.
about life experiences?
Yes.
You were asked a question about taking the children out of state. Do you recall that question?
Yes.
Do you recall when that was?
When I took them out of state? I left after I received a call saying that Michael's attorney had
The question was when she left?
She said after. All right, so approximately when? We're looking for a month.
It would have been maybe the first week of July.
Okay.
Do you recall if there was a court order in place at that time?
Yes.
Was Michael's visitation suspended at that time?
Yes.
Were you awarded sole physical custody of the children?
Yes.
And you've also talked about the structure and some things that you were precluded from doing when you were with Michael, whether it be turning off lights or doing anything that way. And you were asked a question if you believed it was proper for a parent to want to get harmful things out of the house. Do you believe that deodorant is harmful?
No.
Do you believe any of the fears or harmful fears that Michael had were rational? Okay, you were also asked if you had ever pointed a gun at Michael. Do you recall that question?
Yes.
Have you ever pointed a gun at Michael?
No.
Have there ever been any issues where Michael has wanted you to hold a gun?
Yes.
Okay, and what happened in that situation?
I don't like guns and I don't want to be around them. And Michael's like, here, hold this gun. And it's like loaded. And I'm like, I don't want to hold the gun. I don't want to hold the gun. He's like, hold the gun. And I'm like, I don't want to hold it. He's like, I want to train you how to hold it. And so I took the gun and I'm like, I don't know what to do with it. And he's like, why are you pointing it at me? And I'm like, I'm not. I don't even know what to do with this. I don't want them in the house. I don't want them around me. I didn't want to. I felt pressured into holding it. I was definitely not aiming at him. I just held it because I didn't know what to do with it.
And you were also questioned about your trip to Chicago, which I believe was in July of last year. 2 years ago. What was the purpose of that trip to Chicago?
It was my best friend's wedding reception in Chicago.
Were you in any way in charge of the reception or helping out?
Yes,
What
I
was
was
your role?
the maid of honor.
You were also questioned about wrecking your car coming down Charleston Canyon, correct? Had you been drinking at all that night?
No,
Did you in fact slide off the road that night?
I did.
Okay. And what happened after you slid off the road?
The state trooper came and parked behind me and asked me if I knew how to drive in the snow, and I told him no.
Clearly, no.
So he explained that, like, when you're driving in the snow, you have to pump your brakes.
Okay, I don't want to hear the whole thing.
Okay.
So
So a state trooper showed up.
yes,
Okay. Did the state trooper have somebody else drive your car?
no,
Okay. Did he allow you to continue driving your car?
yes,
Was he at all concerned that you may have been drinking?
no,
And is that because you, in fact, had not been drinking?
correct.
And you were questioned about a dating site post where it's posted that you're a social drinker.
Mm-hmm.
Did you actually type out social drinker?
It's a drop-down menu, I believe.
And what is your definition of what a social drinker would be?
I guess every now and then, I guess when you go out with a friend, you have a drink. That would be a social setting. I guess that would be social drinking.
And is it your testimony that you don't even consider yourself a social drinker now?
Yeah, I rarely drink.
Do you recall when you separated from Michael?
Yes.
When was that?
May of 2014.
Is it? Are you sure it's 2014 or was it 2015?
It wasn't this May, it was the last May, so 2015. Sorry.
And then your question, I'll direct you to Exhibit H in Plaintiff and Defendant's binder. Questioned about several photos or Facebook posts. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And these posts are dated October of 2013, correct?
Yes.
In 2014.
Yes.
And so in August 9th, you're specifically questioned about a post from August 9th, 2014, which reads, "When a woman is loved, well, she blossoms."
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And at that time, were you still together with Michael?
Yes.
And were you still at that time trying to save your marriage?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And you guys were going to counseling, correct?
Yes.
And so all of these posts was at a time you were going to counseling, but you were still trying to save your marriage, correct?
Yes.
And circumstances have changed since then, correct?
Yes.
You were also questioned about Malia and Mason receiving hand, foot, and mouth disease.
Yes.
Okay. Who took them to the doctor to receive treatment for that? Okay. Did Michael seek treatment at all? Did he provide medications at all? Who was primarily responsible for that? And do you believe that your kids are flourishing at the daycare?
Yes.
And you've testified that it's your belief and understanding that your kids love Michael, correct?
Yes.
And you believe there's no question that he loves his kids, correct? But do you believe that Michael is capable of being an adequate parent to your children?
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Counsel, anything else?
As far as, deodorants and waxes, did Michael tell you about reading studies that called into question some of their safety? Have you ever undertaken any type of research, looked at any studies as to whether those items might be dangerous? That's all I have here.
Anything else, counsel? Right, thank you. Counsel, who do you have next? And as an offer of proof, what are they going to testify to? We're getting late in the day. I'd like it not to be cumulative.
We'll call Dan Dixon as our next expert.
And who's that?
Dan is Candace's stepfather.
Okay.
He will testify as to recent conversations he's had with Michael in violation of court orders. He will also talk regarding lateness of drop-offs and pickups, and also regarding a tracking device that was placed in Candace's car that he assisted in removing.
All right. Go ahead and grab him. In the meantime, as to lateness, that's cumulative. I'm not going to allow him to testify as to that.
Okay.
As to the tracking device in the car, I'll allow him to testify to that. The court's heard brief testimony from him previously, but I want this record to be complete and counsel to have an opportunity to cross him as to that issue. What was the other issue you were going to tell me? Oh, communication with him in violation of my court order?
Yes.
All right. Counsel, that issue.
Court required me.
He's calling him to testify as to defendant's communication with him in violation of this court's order. Do you have any objection to that?
I don't know that he can lay a foundation for the communication came from.
Well, it's going to get difficult evidentiary-wise, and I'm not sure.
I would object, Your Honor.
Okay, and raise your right hand to be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Have a seat, sir. State your name for the record.
My name is Dan Dixon,
And tell me how you spell that.
Dixon.
Thank you. Counsel, go ahead.
Dan, could you tell me how you're related to Candace?
I'm her stepfather.
And how long have you been married to Candace's mother?
12 years, going on 13.
And have you been involved at all in this matter, in this divorce matter?
Yes.
How have you been involved?
I tried to mediate some type of a settlement with Mike and Candace and Mike's stepfather. We kind of sat down and we tried to work things out, and it just kept on falling apart. I was there when Candace was living at the house, and Mike had moved out to his father's house, and I would try to keep her safe. Mike would come over late at night and stuff and wouldn't leave. I could call Mike and ask him to leave. So from the very beginning, I've been involved in it.
And do you remember an instant where a tracking device was found in Candace's car?
Yes.
How do you remember that incident?
Shallant, my wife, and I were down in Phoenix. Candace had called us and said that their son had come home and said that he was watching Mike track her vehicle.
Objection, hearsay as to the son said.
Okay.
So Candace and Shallant and I got on the computer trying to figure out what tracking device was and where it would be placed and everything else. And when I got home, we went over to her house, we looked at it, and we found it being plugged in underneath the driver's side where a steering column is, where they plug in for the smog test was plugged in there and then pushed up underneath the skirting.
Did you notice any kind of concealment on the tracking device?
The tracking device had a LED light that was taped over with black tape. It was tried to be concealed, but it looked like it was put in pretty fast. It was plugged in and it kind of pushed up and underneath it. It wasn't like a real clean job or anything, but yeah, other than the black tape over the light, yeah.
Do you recall when this was?
The exact date?
Approximate date.
We were down there for my son, so it probably was towards the end of May, right around May, towards the end of May.
Was it in a place where anybody just getting in and out of the car would have ever noticed it?
No, you have to get down on your knees and look underneath it in order to really notice it. I mean, you might be able, if you're standing back from an angle, you might be able to see like a little cable, but it wouldn't look like it was out of place at first.
Just looked like regular wires down there.
Yeah.
Did you help Candace remove the tracking device?
No, I advised her not to remove it. I reached up underneath it to pull it out to kind of look at it and see what it was. We took pictures of it, put it back, and then I think she contacted you to find out what to do.
Were you all present when Candace had her vehicle inspected the year before?
At the smog?
Yes.
No.
Were you aware if that device was in place when her smog was conducted?
I'm not aware if it would be in place, but I have searched the car prior to that point and looked underneath the dash and it was never there.
Is it something that would have had to been removed in order to get a smog completed?
Definitely.
Have you received any recent communication from Michael?
We received a text a couple weeks back, I guess it was, or a week ago. I don't remember what it said. I mean, there's been quite a few throughout this last year and stuff. So, I mean, we typically try to forward them on to you and let you kind of hang on to them.
Have you received any phone calls from Michael in the last 2 weeks?
Yes, he tried to call my phone, and I didn't answer it.
Did he leave you a message?
I believe he did.
Do you remember what that message said?
Objection, best evidence would be the message.
You got the message still on your phone?
Right. Looks like it was on 7/28.
Any objection to him just playing the message?
I would.
Your objection was best evidence. I'm giving you the best
I would,
evidence.
Your Honor, because we haven't been produced it. It hasn't been identified as an exhibit.
I'm going to allow it. Go ahead, play the message. You hold it up to that microphone right there.
Call back. You know how my kids are doing. I also have school supplies I need to figure out when you guys want to pick those up and if I can see my kids this weekend. It's been over a freaking month, man. This can't be good for them. Please, if you have a freaking heart, please give me a call back. And just, I need to be able to see my own children, right? Please call me. Thanks. Yeah.
Wait, Joe, will you give me that again and press play so I can hear it? I'm getting old.
So am I. Can't hear it.
can, please give me a call back. I need to know how my kids are doing. I also have school. I need to figure out when you guys want to pick those up. If I can see my kids this weekend, it's been a freaking month, man. It can't be good month. Please, if you have a freaking heart, please give me a call back. I need to deal with my own children, right? Please give me a call. Thanks.
Thank you.
Other than the voicemail, are there any other communications that you've received from Michael?
Just text and voicemail, and I think that's it.
Overall, how has your life been during this divorce proceeding?
Jokes and relevance.
Counsel, how's that relevant?
He's been involved in this case and had to deal with this for over a year now.
Right, which is all totally and absolutely unfortunate. However, it's not relevant to any best interest factor I have to find.
It
Next
goes
question.
To, Michael's behavior and his.
You can ask him about Michael's behavior, sure.
Have you witnessed any erratic behavior by Michael recently?
Through this whole thing, yes, he doesn't listen. He brings the kids back sometimes as much as 2 hours late. He doesn't comply to anything. He changes the deal. Like if he says, "Oh, I want to take the kids out for 2 hours," and he'll call right before that and say, "I'm thinking I want to keep them overnight." It's always sporadic. It's always trying to be controlling and trying to keep us at bay. It seems like he's difficult to deal with. He doesn't seem like he has any remorse when he brings the kids back. Oh, I'm sorry. Here you go. After we've been sitting there for 2 hours, and each time we ask him, "Can you please bring time? Can you please be timely?" He still will not do it.
Have you noticed any change in Candace since she's been separated from Michael?
Yes, she's much more calmer, and she's much more happier, actually. I mean, she has a good life together. The kids are doing great. The chaos is kind of stopped, and since we got her out of the house and actually got him stopped constantly texting her and calling her, and so with that, she's been able to kind of be at ease a little bit, now. So it's changed a lot.
And how often did you see Mason and Malia?
2-3 times a week, probably.
Have you noticed any change in them over the last month?
A lot changed. They used to come back very tired and dirty and hungry, and it seemed like they were just like going all weekend long, to where their schedule was all messed up. Now she has them on a nice schedule to where they're very calm, they're listening, they're doing great now.
Okay. And you were always the point of contact for visitation and drop-offs, pickups, correct?
Yes, unless we had to make other arrangements because we were out of town or something.
And this change you've noticed just in the last month or so, correct?
Yes.
When the children have been primarily in the care of Candace?
Yes.
I don't think I have any further questions, Your Honor.
Counsel?
Did you do anything in preparation to give your testimony here today?
No.
You didn't review any documents?
No.
You didn't speak with anyone? You didn't even speak with your stepdaughter's counsel?
Spoke with them earlier, yes.
So that was in preparation for giving your testimony today, correct?
Well, I wasn't preparing to give my testimony or anything like that.
Well, and she is your stepdaughter.
I think of it as you saying, did I practice it with him? Is that what you're saying?
Did you discuss what you would testify to?
No.
And you would acknowledge that your biases lie in favor of Candace in this matter?
Of course.
And from what you described, it sounds like you were present for every time Michael returned the children from a visit. Were you present?
Like I said, most times, unless we were out of town or couldn't make it there, I had to make other arrangements.
So, and At some point, Candace was at the house on Maynard, living by herself?
Yes.
You said you had searched her car previously to the time that you found the tracker. When had you previously searched her car?
We did it a number of times. When she first left, she had a feeling that was being tracked, and we
My
thought.
question was, when had you last searched the car prior to finding the tracker?
Probably right around maybe in October, November of 2015.
And that would be how many months before you found the tracker?
7 months, 6, 7 months.
And prior to those two occasions, you'd searched the vehicle how many other times?
Periodically, I mean, she would say this or whatever, and I would kind of look around with that, but not probably real extensive.
You never found anything during these numerous searches up until the last time? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Was there an order in place that prevented Michael from communicating with you?
An order in place to keep Michael from, like a protective order from
Any
me?
type of order that you're aware of?
Not that I know there's one with Candace, but I don't know if that included me. I don't believe it did.
And the phone message that we heard today was concerning school supplies, correct?
Yes.
And are you aware that Candace had talked to Michael about contacting you concerning school supplies?
Yes.
Do you recall an earlier conversation concerning tracking devices with Michael after the neighbor's SUV was stolen?
No.
I'll pass the witness, John.
Counsel, briefly.
Real quick. Dan, are you aware that a fuse was tampered with in Candace's car?
Yes.
Did you inspect the car at all at that time?
No, I was trying to direct the person that was at her house what the problem could possibly be. She was describing that the car would not start, but would turn over. So I said, well, it's something that was a fuel situation. So the person that she had there, I guess, had some type of knowledge of vehicles too. So we started looking around for fuses and solenoids and stuff like that. He pulled one out and it had been black taped, so it wouldn't make a connection. And he took the black tape off, or bought new. I'm not sure what she did. Put it back in there, and the
I'm
car
going to
started.
object to this line. It's beyond the scope of the direct and the
I think
cross.
it goes to the timeline of the search for the tracker. Is that correct? Is that what you're getting at?
That's correct, Your Honor.
I'll allow it.
You were also questioned about the voicemail that we played. It did mention school supplies, correct?
Yes.
Did it also ask you to contact Candace about Michael seeing the children?
I must be getting old too, because I still don't remember what it said.
It did. The court heard it.
Okay.
And are you aware that there was an order in place for Michael not to contact Candace?
Yes.
And it had already been addressed about Michael seeing the kids. Are you aware of that?
Yes, over. Yep.
And were you aware at all that the neighbor's car was stolen?
I don't recall that at all. No.
And you never had any conversation with Michael about a tracking device in Candace's car?
Is that a no?
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, counsel. Anything else?
Nothing further.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Counsel, do you have another witness?
We have several, but I believe they'll be slightly cumulative. I believe at this time, in the interest of time, we will call no further witnesses.
All right, I think that's the best decision. Counsel, call your first witness.
Your Honor, may have a moment to consult with my client.
It's all take 2 minutes. Thank you.
2 minutes, thanks.